Sveiki, I'm NOЕP and you're watching BOBE, aka Best of Baltic Entertainment.
Hi NOΕP, great to have you back in Riga again. I think soon you will be one of the most interviewed artists by Best of Baltic Entertainment.
I better, yeah. Because I know BOBE since so many years, so it's good. It's good. I'm working towards this goal.
Yeah, and it only means one thing, that you are releasing new music and giving us reason to see you again. And this time the reason is your new album, No Man is an Island.
Yeah.
Congrats on that.
Thank you.
You've been releasing music for years, but when was the time when you decided, okay, I'm putting together an album?
It was actually last year, and it was intentional because the track that I released before I got the idea was On My Way. And actually, I remember when they played On My Way on BBC Radio 1 a couple of times, and when I was waiting for On My Way to be on, I heard so many kind of this dance pop, very similar sounding tracks on this radio, and I was like, I want to do something that stands out a bit more. So I told my management that, okay, I'm gonna take a few months and I'm gonna find some kind of a new direction. Because back in the day, I didn't have any kind of a deal with a label that I had to deliver the next single, or there was no pressure on that side. So I took a couple of months and I was just writing tracks. I bought a few new analog synthesizers, and then I was playing around and writing tracks, and then suddenly I felt like, yeah, okay, this is the sound that I want to use on an album. A lot of things that I do are based on just my inner gut. I just feel like, okay, now I'm gonna do an album, and then I will do an album. So yeah, that's how it turned out.
And I was listening to the album, and I must say it's quite diverse, because when I think of NOΕP, I think of this electronic dance music, more upbeat. But in the album there's also like some slow ballads and something more darker. And how was it for you to explore this side?
That's what I like about releasing an album, because almost all of my career I've focused solely on singles because of, you know, when I want to release, and I have wanted to release everything with a label mostly, then it's usually singles that would, you know, be played on radios and stuff. But with this album I felt that I can kind of write and produce whatever and not think about where it could go, like would it be played on radios or not. So I really enjoyed just letting go of all these expectations, and that's why there are so many kind of alternative sounding or ballad sounding tracks on the album.
Is it harder to write like those deep emotional songs than something upbeat? Does it differ for you, no?
No, actually those ballads that are on the album, Soulmate and Numb, and these are tracks that came out very quickly. I just sat behind my piano and I just started writing and wrote the tracks in a couple of hours, I think. And production was also quite effort-free, because I kind of vibed with it. Sometimes you push and you push and you push and it doesn't kind of go anywhere. For some tracks I've had like 7 different approaches, different productions. But I think because before writing Numb and Soulmate, the more emotional tracks, I already had kind of in my head the production style and the vibe of the album. So I kind of just knew how they were gonna sound. So it made it super actually simple to write. And because they don't have any, they don't have to serve any other purpose than just producing feeling. And this is where I think I feel myself most at home. Because for me, maybe it's more difficult to produce a track. Actually, it's the other way around, yeah. because I don't feel that home with dance tracks, because my personal taste is not in the dance music, or like not in the typical dance music, because a lot of my tracks that are kind of danceable, they still go up and down because I like the air and I like the space. So, but for dance music, it's not always good, because I build a track and then I take it down, and then I build a track and I take it down. And for radio tracks and stuff, that's not good. So, yeah, album is my thing now.
And in the album you talk about things like love, society and environmental issues.
Yeah.
Could you tell a bit more about it?
Yeah, well, when I was younger, I wrote mostly about, you know, relationships or some kind of emotional aspects of our relationships with each other, our relationships with each other. And at some point, I think maybe starting from 3 or 4 years ago, like I'd say half of my tracks have either double meaning, that they could be translated into a love song, or if you have some different background system, then you think, well, okay, it's also a bit, you know, concerning some society issue or environmental stuff. Because at some point it just felt, I don't want to write another love song, or it's just, it's like, you know, not with Numb and Soulmate, because they came straight from the heart, and that sounds so cliche, but yeah, but with a lot of the tracks, it just, at some point I felt there's need to be something else, there needs to be something more to the track than just I love her, she loves me, you know, or she doesn't love me, or I don't love her, you know. Of course there are, you know, good sides to both kind of stories. That's why, and I don't like to be too nagging or too full of myself as well, like, oh, society is bad, you know, I'm part of that society. Especially the track Human Nature on the album is, and Setting Things on Fire, it's like accepting that I am the piece of the same society or the same problem that I'm criticizing. That's the kind of the situation we're in. A lot of the people I know, they care about the environment, but kind of you're in the machinery that destroys the environment, and it's like you're crying. It's like a sketch from Simpsons, where Smithers, who was the Mr. Burns' assistant, in one episode, Smithers turns into a snake and he eats Mr. Burns, and he's like, I'm sorry, Mr. Burns, I'm so sorry, I'm so sorry. That's how I feel.
Yeah.
I'm Smithers.
And music definitely is a medium through which we can raise awareness and talk about topics. But do you think it's an artist's responsibility? Do you feel responsible as an artist of what you're telling and what messages you're giving into the songs?
I don't think it's a necessity, because music, especially pop music, I think a lot of the times it works as a form of escapism. So that, because there are so many problems around us, the political scene, the environmental scene, everything is so dark, and now the COVID and stuff. So people, a lot of times, they just wanna, you know, it's like Netflix series, you just wanna go into a world and not think about that darkness around us. So I think it's totally okay if you make very easygoing, chill music, and I think it's really good. And I wanna make more of that in my near future. But for me, talking about or addressing those issues is maybe something I do to ease my own guilt, you know, to do at least something. I don't think that if you don't do it, that you're a bad person or a bad musician, I think. And it, for me, it has been a source of motivation, because, I don't know, for probably some musicians or artists, I don't know, the motivation is to become famous, let's say. For me, It definitely has been when I was younger, but at some point, for me, it was meaningless. I was like, I don't, it doesn't really drive me. So I kind of took the environmental aspect of my life and made it into source of motivation, that whatever I do, it's my motivation to become more famous, because this is the way I could maybe have a bigger impact.
And you mentioned COVID, and obviously this time has been quite difficult, especially also for artists. No concerts and no source of energy, you could say.
Yeah.
And what helps you and keeps you positive and healthy?
Not drinking too much alcohol. I drink quite a lot, or like a normal amount, but then I know that I have to work out. That's the one of the most important things, I think. I don't work out a lot, but I play like basketball a few times a week, and I walk as much as I can. So I think physical activity is the most important. And the other thing is talking about things. Whatever is in your chest or on your chest, just talk, you know, with your friends, with your girlfriend, boyfriend, with your parents, whatever. Because that's what I take from my own experience. Like, I've kept inside some things that, you know, you're afraid because it's gonna change something or whatever, but usually it always changes it for the better. And honesty, you know.
And honesty to yourself. It's not easy to be honest to yourself. And like
it's something that keep learning, yeah.
Yeah, it's a lesson we learn, I think, throughout the life.
Yes.
And what's next? What do you have in mind for the next year?
As I said, I want to make music, I think, that is more serves the purpose of like escapism, and just to have some. I think my main goal is to have more fun, or take myself and music less seriously, as like easy breezy as I can get, because with this album I feel it's not always an easy listening. Actually, one of my friends and also from the label, she heard the album for the first time and she was like, "Do you need some help? I mean, are you okay? There's a good shrink I could recommend you." And I was like, I'm fine. Now I was actually in a really good place. But as you said, yeah, there's some ballades and stuff, so that are quite, you know, serious. I mean, I take this album quite seriously, and I feel that I have reached the full amount of taking things seriously, and now I just want to have fun. And maybe, you know, next year gonna be serious again, so you never know. Maybe this is just what I think right now. When I start producing, there's another bunch of serious tracks. I don't know. I haven't produced anything for several months. So it's going to be interesting to get back in the music business again, or like music production and writing, because since I think summer, or when I finished mixing my album, I've been doing everything else but music, like music videos or some sketches or on my Instagram. So yeah, it's going like, changes a lot what I do.
And hopefully next year we're gonna be able to have concerts and see each other as we did a couple of years ago now.
Yeah.
You know.
I heard Positivus is gonna be here in Riga, so that's exciting for sure.
And as the new year is approaching, what would you say is your wish for yourself first, and then for the others, anyone watching us now?
Yeah, that is a good question. Maybe to be able, it's again so cliche, but I do struggle with staying in the present because I use a lot of smartphone. I just keep constantly, because I work a lot on my smartphone, like Instagram, TikTok, whatever, and then I consume it a lot. And maybe next year it would be interesting to try to reduce this, because I feel that if we keep ourselves busy all the time, like in the morning I watch maybe a Netflix, like Brooklyn Nine-Nine or whatever, then I go to my studio, then I sit behind the desk on a computer the whole day, and then I'm like phone all day, and then I go to bed, and then round and round I go. But I think this is part of the reason why the time goes by so fast. I'm like, where did this happen? It's like it's been half year since that, and I'm like, where is this life going? Where is it going? Where is it going? So I think, I'm afraid that the phone has a lot to do with it. So maybe it would be something. I'm just going as I go right now, but maybe try to be more like out from the phone more, and maybe build stuff with my hands. I did that last year as well, some furniture and some small things, and for others I wish exactly the same things.
Yeah.
Because then we get to know ourselves a bit more, and I think a lot of anxiety and stress comes from actually not being familiar with ourselves and with our own the voice in our heads. Yeah. Because we don't read that much anymore. I don't read a lot, and I think reading could be one thing that makes us more familiar with ourselves, because you read with your own head voice. You don't do that with any other things, because when you listen to music or when you watch Netflix or whatever, then you don't have to use your head voice, whatever that is called. Yeah. So I think reading, besides all the wisdom that you could potentially get from reading, I think this is one physical aspect that can kind of change and mold us.
Yeah. That's an interesting perspective about the voice in our heads. Yeah, that's interesting.
Yeah.
Okay, and with this lovely wish, let's hopefully see you next year performing live.
Would be cool.
Until the next interview.
Yes, let's make it. Let's make NOΕP #1 interviewee in BOBE.me.